When I was in my childhood, I watched shows like Steven Universe, which is a revolutionary cartoon known to have its first animated same-sex wedding under two wonderful characters, Ruby and Sapphire, two crystal gems embodying the lesbian love known as Fusion Garnet. And Rebecca Sugar, creator of Steven Universe, had to fight relentlessly to have the episode Reunited aired on television against the pushback of conservative countries who said it's inappropriate for young children. Because of the cultural acceptance of gay and lesbian couples from impactful cases such as Oberhell v. Hodges in 2015. Now, in 2024, queer youth face a new attack, one against transgender and gender nonconforming identities who are being erased and censored from the art and content we consume. I'm a transgender artist who draws inspiration from many types of media. However, I don't see myself nor people similar to me in the media. And you know what? That's a problem for everyone else. All of us are struggling to see queer people in these diverse narratives. There is a pattern of anti-trans and therefore anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, a widespread assault amongst the whole community that contributes to negative attitudes about trans representative media. Whether you identify as cisgender or transgender, to expand the broad range of queer inclusivity in media, we must support the diverse representations of gender identity, remembering that there's no LGB without the T. And let's build a T. For starters, there's a young trans woman named Dylan Mulvaney. She's an actress and comedian, a TikTok personality who documents her daily gender transition through a series called Day of Girlhood. When she celebrated her 365th day of womanhood, Bud Light sent her a gift, a can with her face on it to celebrate the March Madness on her Instagram stories and maybe win some money too. Their support of Mulvaney sparked a culture war with a number of boycotts to the point that public figures such as Kid Rock destroyed cases of watery beer, and companies such as Freedom Speaks Up created advertisements for their woke-free ultra-right beer. After the ad went public, Bud Light suffered a loss of $395 million worth of revenue between April and June. And the parent company, Anheuser-Busch, apologized for being in a conversation that divides people and distanced themselves from Dylan Mulvaney. A milestone of a non-campaign gift turned to an anti-woke campaign grift. And all of the backlash costed a significant relationship to the brand. And now people are saying that Bud Light is trying to be political because of one singular can. The culture war has found its way into our regular political discourse, with anti-trans politicians pushing the Don't Say Gay bill, claiming that we need to protect children from kindergarten to third grade from discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity in our schools, in which all of the anti-trans inflammatory content rose by 400% because of the legislation, with many posts attributing transgender people with inflammatory content. And anything that lacks such ethical standards leads to stigma, extremism, and violence. Despite an increase of representation amongst all media, portrayals of trans representation can be lacking, predominantly created as one-dimensional and stereotypical amongst many pop culture stories, examples being the ambiguous queer-coded trope, which portrays representations of characters as villains and or criminals, comic relief, mentally and or physically or ill, or victims of violence. Even the research I'm reciting within these scripts lack transgender and non-binary individuals, furthering proving the fact that the media and those researching it aren't representing the entire LGBTQ spectrum. With the increase of knowledge and visibility of transgender people amongst our modern society, why are we simplifying trans lives and promoting such stereotype biases? It's important to destigmatize these experiences and normalize diverse narratives in common dialect. Simply put, trans inspiration breeds trans curation. We paved the way for young people to safely disclose their identities out of the closet. And that includes me. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Vapa kid with the cool gloves, mask, and chokers, and a storytelling artist who reimagines the moments in media. And the point is that I'm all of that, plus a dysphoric mismatching between my sex and gender. If you got to meet one trans person, you met one trans person, not the entire community. Same goes to show with any other marginalized minorities. We're not mascots representing monoliths, but rather people that represent a whole entire community. That everyone's experience is different, dealing with particular rather than general problems. That applies to fictional characters and real humans. And so I looked at powerful memoirs like Genderqueer, simple storytime hours like drag queen performances, hell, little cross-dressing characters in Shakespeare's plays. And most of all, at the start of this year, the Oscars nominated Best Animated Feature and the Annies nominated Best Writing Feature for the animated film Nimona, which is a trans allegory of a gender nonconforming protagonist about society struggles about those who don't fit into the system. This film was created by trans masculine director Noelle Stevenson. And if you want to take a look, Netflix decided to release their feature-length film on YouTube for free. With all said and done, what can you and I do to help queer inclusivity in the media? 1, support charities and organizations like GLAAD, known to be the largest LGBTQ media advocacy group, ensuring fair, accurate, and inclusive representation that rewrites the script for LGBTQ acceptance. GLAAD tackles tough issues to shape the narrative and provoke dialogue that leads to cultural change. GLAAD protects all that has been accomplished and envisions a world with 100% LGBTQ acceptance. Ask yourself when indulging into the hateful platforms defending the status quo. Stop by questioning the hateful narratives that demonize trans people and start by listening to and learning from the multitude of trans experiences and elevate their voices. But first, you must ask about their names, pronouns, and inclusive language. 3, boost your queer artists, y'all. I know I haven't been creating a lot of art lately due to an art block. But I have been working on a multitude of projects, and one stood out, one of it being Query, which is an illustrative series I have created, which is inspired and created from fellow members of Moreau who are also LGBTQ and staff members. They ultimately aided the strengths and weaknesses behind my storytelling skills. With the current discourse around the trans community, it has been challenging for all of us. As a trans woman, when I see myself represented authentically and faithfully in the media, it gives me hope. It gives all of us hope. And that hope is the light at the end of the tunnel, showing that the suffering and pain from our oppression can turn into the joy and liberation of all of us, touching us deeply on a fundamental level. We want to elevate what we have to say, and they deserve a voice as much as all of you. Thank you.